Good morning, everyone.
Good morning,
Good morning.
We're learning Mishnah.
Good Kodesh.
Good Chodesh, Chodesh Tov. We are learning Mishnah Gittin, Parak Ches, Chapter 8, Mishnah Ches, Mishnah 8. Today's Mishnah has been sponsored by the Garland children, Zeicha Nishmas, in memory of their uncle, Gavriel ben Moshe Nachum, the Mishnah, the Neshama Shabbat Aliyah.
Amen.
Okay, so the Mishnah paints the following scenario. Kasab Sefer Get Le'ish V'Shover Le'isha. A Sofer, a scribe, wrote a get for the man and a receipt for the woman. That means he wrote a get for the man to give to his wife, and he wrote a receipt for the woman who would give that to the husband after he pays the ksuba. Okay? V'tah. And the Sofer made a mistake. V'nasan get le'isha. He gave the get to the woman, v'shover le'ish, and the receipt to the man, meaning he mixed it up. He gave the wrong thing to the wrong person, or at least that's the possible scenario here, as we'll see soon. V'nasu zeh lazeh. Now each one thinks they have the right document, and they give it to each other. Ulach hazman, and after time passes, harei haget yotzim miyad ha'ish v'shover miyad ha'isha. Finally, they open up the documents that they had, and the woman and the man lands up with the get, and the woman lands up with the receipt. You get the story?
It's nothing with nothing.
Okay, seemingly it's nothing, right? And then what did she do? She went and she got married, and she got married based on this mistake.
No
She thought she had a get. She thought that's gave her a get. Okay. Teitz mizeh mizeh. She has to leave both. V'chol hadrachim eluba, and all the ways and all the penalties mentioned previously will apply to her. Now, she must receive a get from her first husband because she's really still married to him, right? He never gave her a get, so she's still married to him. Okay, and she can't be married to the first husband because she ended up marrying another man. That was considered adultery. Now, what does she need to get from the second husband for? She was never married to him. Nonetheless, she needs a get from her second husband because people mistakenly think that she was married to him. They're going to think, she was married, right? She went through a chuppah and everything. And they think she's married. So she has to get a get from her second husband also to make sure nobody gets confused and no one thinks she was really married to him. At the end of the day, she may never remarry either of them, because a woman who commits adultery is forever forbidden to both her husband and the man with whom she sinned. And she is considered a woman who committed adultery here because she was negligent. She was negligent because before she got remarried, she should have shown someone the get, and she didn't. It doesn't even sound like she opened it up, and therefore she's negligent, and therefore all the penalties mentioned before are going to apply to her. Okay, that's the first opinion. Now, this is taking now the Mishnah continues. So that's the Tanna Kama. And Tanna Kama is very clear that this is going to apply even after she has already remarried, based on this mistake. Rebbe Eliezer says, Imla alter yatsa, if it came out immediately, meaning if they realized the mistake immediately, which really doesn't mean immediately, it means before she remarried. It could have happened a number of years later, but it means before she remarried. If they catch this before she gets remarried, ain't they get? Clearly, there's no get here, and the process has to be repeated. Imla achar zman yatsa, but if, let's say, this mistake came out later on, which means after she remarried, this is where Rebbe Eliezer argues on the first opinion of the Mishnah. Harei ze get. It's a kosher get. The first one has no right to take away the right of the second one, which means like this, which literally what the Mishnah is saying is that, how do we find out about this mistake? Because they open up, they look at what they have, eventually they look at what they have, and they realize there's a mistake here, right? Now that's what they say. Oh, I got the must. If I have, meaning the husband says, if I have the get, and she says I have the receipt, then it must mean there was some kind of mistake. But it's not like we know for sure. We're knowing it based on what they say, based on what they're presenting. Look, he says, I have the get, she has the receipt. There had to have been a mix-up, there had to have been a mistake here. And according to the Tanakama, we will believe there was a mistake even after she remarries, to the point that we say she's forbidden to the second husband. It's considered adultery. Says Rabbi Lezer, no. If you catch this mistake before she remarries, so okay, it's a mistake. You want to divorce her? Give her another get. No big deal. No big deal. However, if we're already holding after she is remarried, then we do not believe them. To go ahead and say now that she cannot stay married to the second husband based on their claim, look, I have the wrong thing, and it was a mix-up, says Rebbe Lezer, you can't do that. We actually are concerned that they were making a trick. We're actually concerned that originally the sofer gave him the get and gave her the receipt, and he gave her the get and he gave her the receipt. She remarried, and now they decide they want to get married. They want to go back to each other. So what do? They swap documents, and they say, I got the wrong document, and she got the wrong document. There was never a marriage, and therefore we can go back to each other. That is what we're concerned about. If this is the claim after she marries the second guy, at that point, Rebbe Lezer says we don't have the right to believe this story. We don't have a right to believe there was a mistake. We have to assume that things were correct, and that they're making a trick now. Now, what's interesting about this trick is the fact, what's the purpose of this trick? The purpose of the trick is because if a husband divorces his wife and she remarries someone, and then she gets divorced or widowed from the second husband, she can't go back to the first husband. That's what Torah says straight out. She can't go back to the first husband when she marries somebody else. And therefore, if she's really married to the second guy, there's no way she can go back to the first guy. Therefore, or we couldn't get away, let's put it this way, we couldn't get away with it. We couldn't get away with it unless we go ahead and we say that there never was a marriage to begin with. Okay, there never was a marriage to begin with. Okay, so she was never married to the second guy. Meaning there never was a get to begin with, and therefore she was never divorced from the first man, so she never married a second man. So therefore it shouldn't affect anything. Now what's also interesting is, as they bring down here in the notes, that at the end of the day, nonetheless, the truth is that even according to their story, she can't remarry him. Because we already previously learned in the Mishna that if a woman gets married based on an invalid get, then the halacha is it's considered she committed adultery, and she can't go back to the first husband anyway. So in some ways, it's futile here, right? This trick is futile because even if their story is true, she wouldn't be able to go back to the first husband. For that, they bring down here from the Tosfos Yontif that regarding that halacha, we're concerned that they're not aware of that halacha. They're not aware of that halacha. This kind of penalty this kind of halacha, they're not familiar with. We have to be concerned about that. The halacha about the fact that she can't go back to the first husband unless they claim there is no get here, that's in the Chumash. Everybody's going to know that. But the other halacha that if a woman gets married to another man based on an invalid get, it's considered adultery and she can't go back to the first husband, that they don't know. And therefore, according to Belezer, even though they're both presenting the wrong document, we actually have to assume that things were correct and that they're playing a trick. Why? Because this claim of theirs, there was a mistake, isn't enough to take away from the second guy who's married to her. Just because they claimed there was a mistake, that's not enough to do that. And therefore, we act, and the Bar Chinura says, the halacha is like Rebbe Lezer, that she's allowed to be may stay married to the second guy, and not go back to the first guy. Now, it would seem to me, I didn't see this, but it seemed to me like, you really want to stay married to this woman when there's this story about the get? So the end of the day, the point is like this. The point is, you cannot, according to halacha, you cannot say she's usher to the second husband. You can't believe them regarding that. You want to get the first husband to maybe give another get, just to make sure. I'm not sure what Rebbe Lezer would say about that, because that looks kind of funny. That looks kind of strange. to give another get. But at the end of the day, Rebbe Lezer is saying that according to the din, they have no right to make this claim after she's already married. After the second guy is already married, the second guy is married to her, they cannot take away his right. They cannot take away his wife from him based on this kind of claim. Okay, that's the first case. That's the first case of the Mishnah. All right, we will continue this tomorrow, Mr. Shem. Have a wonderful day. A good Chodesh Tov.
Thank you, Rabbi.